Hello, I'm Casey Dinges, Senior Managing Director for Public Affairs, Membership, Leadership, and Programs at the American Society of Civil Engineers. Thanks for joining us today for a discussion about recruiting and hiring trends in the civil engineering field. My guest today is Anthony Fasano, PE, co-founder of the Engineering Career Coach website and host of the Civil Engineering Podcast, dedicated to core skills training for civil engineers. In addition to his website, he authored a best-selling book entitled Engineer Your Own Success: 7 Key Elements to Creating an Extraordinary Engineering Career. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks, Casey. I'm excited to be here.
What types of skills are most in demand at today's civil engineering firms?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I always ask that question when I talk to civil engineering CEOs. What are you looking for when someone comes to your company? And what they tell me is interesting is it's not so much the technical side. I think today that's kind of a given. Like, you need to have the technical skills to be a civil engineer, period. But if you can add some of those other skills, what I like to call them core skills, communication, the ability to network, build relationships with team members, architects, contractors, leadership. You've got to be able to lead a team or a project. Even if you're right out of school, you still may have to lead something in your office. That's very important. And the one skill that I think is a critical skill that most civil engineers don't focus on enough is just speaking, presenting. Right? Because you got to present in front of planning boards, in front of potential clients, in front of government agencies, and the ability to present can literally make or break your civil engineering career. So I would say if there's one thing you really want to work on, it's your presentation skills, because not only will it make you a better communicator, but it's going to build your confidence, and that's huge.
So in today's world, does an engineer need to specialize? And if so, at what point in their career should they specialize?
Good question. I think the ultimate answer is yes, you should pick a niche. There's a saying that says the riches are in the niches, and it's not just associated with money, but the level of expertise. It's very big, especially in the CE world. But I would say in the beginning of your career, don't specialize. Get your feet wet. I mean, when I was starting as a civil engineer, I did some bridge work, I did some geotech, I did some land development, and I got a feel for all those things. And then once I knew what I liked, I started to move more in that direction and kind of let it happen naturally. Now, that being said, you've got to understand the position you're in. If you go to a company that only does one thing, it's going to be harder to get that exposure. So maybe that's something you should think about when you select your company, or just think about the opportunities that are going to be available to you. But after a few years out and you've gotten some technical expertise, then you have to make a decision, in my opinion, and pick some niche. In my opinion, the smaller you get, the better. I mean, people that look at big-time civil engineering projects, they look for the best people. They don't necessarily hire a civil engineer to work on the project. They hire, a geotech expert on this type of boring, on this type of soil, on this location. And I think the problem sometimes is that people are worried that if they narrow themselves too much, then they're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. But the truth is the opposite. The more you can focus yourself, the more you can develop your expertise in that area, and you can become the go-to person in that very specific field.
If you could give a civil engineer with less than 5 years of experience 3 career tips, what would they be?
The first thing is to build your network. This is something that most young engineers think that should be reserved for executives, for project managers, that it's their job to go out there and meet people. It's my job to stay in my desk or my cube and just crank out calculations. But that's completely false. Your network means everything to you and your company, right? That's where all your opportunities are going to come from. That's where your enjoyment's going to come from, because you're going to meet people. So, the one thing that you must absolutely do is get out there and network effectively. Use LinkedIn and use your chapter meetings. The second thing that I would recommend that's really, really important that most young engineers don't do is to find a mentor. I know ASCE has avenues for hooking up members, with mentors. It's such a critical thing, because if you think about it, if you want to be at a certain point in your company and there's 10 people that are there, why wouldn't you want to talk to them, develop that relationship, understand how they did that? I mean, it could shave off years of time for you of achieving your goals. And I think that a lot of times people say, like, yeah, mentor, it's cliche, I know you're supposed to do it. But all the successful engineers that I've been able to interview through our different avenues tell me that, mentor. I had mentors. That's all I hear from engineering leaders. I had 3 mentors. I had 2 mentors. So mentoring is a big one. And the other one that I think is important is the technical skills. Because now one of the things that happens a lot is engineers try to jump too fast from the technical to the managerial. And in my opinion, if you want to be a good manager, you've got to have the technical underneath you.
Anthony, on the mentoring issue, Do people, is it best to have a mentor inside your organization or outside the organization?
It's a good question. I actually recommend both, because it's great to have someone in your company, your supervisor or somebody in another department, because they're familiar with the surroundings and what you're dealing with. But it's also very important to have a mentor outside of your company, because if there's something going on within your company, within your team, within your office, you may not feel comfortable going to a mentor inside your office to talk about it, and that can really hold you back. So you have someone outside that's got a confidential relationship, they're going to still give you that accountability, and you can bounce these inner office issues off them. So I definitely recommend one out and one in.
Anthony, thank you for joining me today for a very informative discussion about recruiting trends in civil engineering. For more information on ASCE's Interchange program, visit asce.org. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time on the ASCE Interchange.